Hello there, folks. Religious Cowboy here. I'm probably going to start a new section on a book that I enjoy reading quite much called Failing America's Faithful by Kathleen Kennedy Townsend. And it was just a book that I noticed on the television the other night, and I thought I'd go out and buy and give it a try. And I've gotten so much out of it just in this one day that I decided that I am going to summarize each of these chapters for you. So we're going to start out with the first chapter today. That's all I've gotten through so far. And it starts off with the parable of the Good Samaritan. Now, if you don't know that one, I'll put a link up for it to you so you can go ahead and check that out. And it is a pretty good parable. And it focuses, it is one of the main focuses of the entire book. Or just the meaning, anyway. So she goes on in the first chapter to talk a lot about her family. How she lost her dad, Bobby Kennedy, and her uncle before that, JFK, and how the tragedies of their death in a Catholic family that she grew up in were great, and that she had so much sorrow losing her uncle, and then 6 years later her own dad, and she was but a child at this time. So how her suffering was not enough to strip her of her faith. During the time of her uncle's death, it mentions in here how her father took the time out of his day of funeral preparation and of grieving to make sure that she knew that she should not focus on herself and dwell on the fact that she is hurting, but that there is a wide community out there that needs her help, and that it is her job to do God's work here on earth. So she was able to keep her faith through all of this, and still at the same time come out and be able to write such a great book as this. It continues talking about her church, and most all churches in general who are involved more in politics. She says that they focus too much on abortion, the abstinence without talk of contraceptives, in eliminating the teaching of evolution in schools, where these things should not be the focus of a church. Why spend all of their money and time and effort on picketing in front of an abortion clinic when there are homeless and starving children everywhere in this country even? And so people should go out and focus their love on the community and help and build a unity like a United States, rather than an individual success, an individual assurance of attaining heavenly pleasure or whatever. She says basically we need to stop pointing the finger and saying I'm right and you're wrong, and just accept and just understand the sufferings that people go through. People may not understand the strugglings of the gay, drug addicted homosexual, but at the same time it should still be there that we want to help and show this person love. And she goes on to talk about how the churches may be too conservative right now at this very point, but then in her political views, she talks about how the Democrats perhaps being too liberal, and that there are conservative ideas that need to be upheld, or that should be taken into consideration at least for the support of moral laws. Conservatism, in her view, is what leads to a lot of moral values. So she talks a lot about that, and the separation of church and state by the liberals right now may be a little bit too extreme on how it is true that we are a nation and it is a freedom of religion, and that the separation is indeed necessary, but at the same time we can still rely on, instead of making a wall between the church and state, there should be a window to where religion and government can work together and at the same time produce a greater good for the United States. So her first chapter basically summarizes up in saying that she feels that the church and the country have lost their way and need to focus more on helping those in need and creating maybe a better country and world with using this. She says instead of taking the church donations and using them to attack, say, abortion, go out to a soup kitchen and help those in need. So basically, I've loved this book so much so far, just because it shows that not all us Christians are bad. We don't all just want to point the finger at you. A lot of us just love. And we just want to let you know that we're trying to work, together with you and with everyone to create a better nation, to create a better life for everyone. So it's just the quality of life we're trying to improve here. We don't want anybody to feel neglected or outcast or anything like that. So anyway, that's the end of chapter 1 of Failing America's Faithful by Kathleen Kennedy Townsend. And please return back in the near future to see the rest of the chapters. And I'm having a feeling this book is going to be pretty good, folks. So stay tuned.